Let's talk about transmissions. You see, I've driven manual transmissions for most of my life, and most of the cars that I've primarily bought have been manual transmissions. Until my Mark 6 GTI. My second Mark 6 GTI. I recently bought a 2013 GTI, and it has a DSG. So I think it's important to talk about why I actually bought a DSG. You know, there's one thing that I always mess up buying, and that is soap. Apparently, I didn't see that it's only the foaming pump bottle. I don't have that, I have this. So now my soap's just like water.
Volkswagen.
So, why did I buy a manual transmission car? I'm an automotive enthusiast. This is sacrilegious. I can't do that. Well, it comes down to 3 reasons. It's funny, I think you can see I can't see anything over that snow pile. It's like genuinely dangerous. Like I don't know if there are more cars. I can't see. All right, we were good there. That is terrifying. I hate winter so much. Reason number 1. Sometimes you just don't feel like driving a manual transmission. Just as an example, I worked out my legs this morning, and when I was walking out of the gym, I could barely walk. The last thing I wanted to do was hop into my car and have to go like this, like 6 times to get up to 45 miles an hour. I don't want to do that. That sucks. Reason number 2, traffic. I recently moved to Chicago, and while I like my job, I don't like these roads. They're awful. They're so garbage. There's traffic everywhere. There's potholes. They're just not good. And if you've ever gone through the Chicago loop downtown, like on the highway, during rush hour, you don't want to be driving a manual transmission. Reason number 3, I have a fun manual transmission car that I use for racing. It's the Mazda Miata. You guys know it pretty well. It's got a turbo on it. It makes really cool noises. It's lowered. It looks awesome. It handles well. It's fantastic. That's my fun car. So I'm much more at peace having, you know, an automatic kind of just normal car if I have a second car. And in all honesty, I think I'm going to use that 2-car system for the rest of my life. It's life-changing. Once you have like one car that you can just go batshit crazy with, and then one car that just is reliable and works, it's amazing. So those are the 3 main reasons why I justify buying a DSG. And now, honestly, as much as I love having an automatic transmission, the DSGs are a little bit iffy. You see, coming down to a stop, it can be a little bit jerky because you can feel the clutch is, I guess, disengaging and kind of going into their neutral mode. And there's also kind of a delayed creep. You know, when you take your foot off the brake and the car kind of creeps forward, there's a little bit of a delay. That being said, the speed at which you can shift with this is fantastic. And when you're actually accelerating past first gear, it is so smooth, it's crazy. So yeah, it's got some flaws, right? Let's talk about how those flaws have kind of evolved over the generations of the Mark 5, Mark 6, and Mark 7 Volkswagens. Also, this is kind of odd, but while I was at Walgreens, it was actually the closest I've ever gotten to visiting Lake Michigan from Illinois' side. So I figured I'd check it out, and this is awesome. It's really cool. You can actually see really, really far away. I wish I brought my telephoto lens, but there's actually ice forming right about there. It's pretty cool. I almost died coming down here, so I'm not gonna go any further because there's a lot more stairs, so I don't want to fall and die because these are not meant for the snow. But this is really cool. I'll have to come back and kind of explore around. I need to go to actual like downtown Chicago because I haven't visited at all. So that'll be definitely something that I do in the future, for sure. That's pretty cool. And now I gotta go back so I don't get a ticket. I will see you guys back at my place to explain the transmissions and kind of how they differ between generations. Also, there's a Miata in like the dead of winter. That's sick. That is awesome. Whoop. Nice. Yeah. Look at that. Okay, so let's go over my thoughts on the Volkswagen DSG transmission. So again, I have the Mark 6 GTI. That is the DQ250. I'm just gonna write it out. So the Mark 5 has the DQ250. Same with Mark 6. The Mark 7 actually has a new transmission, the DQ500. This was later upgraded to a 7-speed, I think in 2019, 2018, somewhere around there. Still based off the same DQ500, so not crazy different, but it is different. I have driven all of these. So I've driven a Mark 5 Jetta through college, had experience with that, same exact transmission. Mark 6, obviously I have my Mark 6. I've also driven a couple of DSG Mark 6s, like modified, I should say. And I've driven them stock Mark 7 and modified Mark 7. So I have a lot of experience with the different generations when it comes to the DSG smoothness and experience with it. So let's talk about it. So the pros, why should you look forward to buying a DSG, right? The first one we have is just smooth acceleration. It is smooth. There's no doubt about it. Outside of first gear, as soon as you're just accelerating normally, it is lightning quick and just a very smooth transmission. Now, yeah, there's quicker shifts. This isn't really a huge deal to me. At a certain point, if you're not racing, it doesn't matter if it shifts quicker or not. It really truly doesn't. What I will say is that it's more precise. You're never going to miss a shift in a DSG. So if you're prone to that, then maybe that's a really, really good benefit. I don't suck at shifting, so I don't have to worry about that. No, I'm just kidding. Another kind of slight benefit is that you don't have to upgrade your clutch, at least for most like bolt-on and turbo applications. If you, for example, do a stage 2 tune on a Mark 6, so that's downpipe and intake, you have to upgrade the clutch, which sucks because your clutch gets heavier and it just costs way more. So one benefit is that with a DSG, you don't have to do that. You can save $700 for, a clutch pressure plate and flywheel, and it's way easier. Now let's talk about the cons. The first and most blatant thing is that when you're decelerating, it's not that smooth. It essentially is always trying to downshift and hold a gear ready for you, and that you can really feel it. It's not that great. And it's more pronounced in some cars. For example, in my Mark 5, I didn't really feel that decel that much. Same with the Mark 7s, but in the Mark 6, you can actually feel it quite a bit. Second issue is the maintenance. You gotta do more maintenance. You have to do DSG fluid flushes, which are way more frequent than you ever have to do for automatic transmissions. Another thing is the first gear jerkiness. When you're going into first gear or you are in first gear, it's a little bit jerky. It's not that great because the car is always thinking, should I go into second gear? And it's also thinking, is it time to basically release the clutch and go back into kind of like a neutral mode? So it can be a little bit jerky. So by now you're probably wondering, I've mentioned Mark 5, Mark 6, Mark 7. Why am I talking about that? Well, because they're all different. They all drive different. They all operate different. So I'm going to go over and kind of say which one is best. So let me use this handy dandy whiteboard to make a little graph. Here we have a graph. On the y-axis we have the worst up to the best. Now what I mean by that is best is the best possible transmission you can ever think of. It's smooth, shifts quick, it never is confused or anything like that, it never hunts for gears. perfect. Then you have the worst. This is a bad transmission. It's always hunting. It's not smooth. It just sucks, right? It sucks. We have the 5, the 6, and the 7. So the 5 is kind of in the mid-range. It's not that great. It's pretty jerky. It's just not that good. And especially the creep in the Mark 5 generations, it's so bad. You get off the brake, it will wait like 1.5 seconds before creeping. It's really bad. And in reverse, it's even worse. It waits like 2 seconds sometimes. Now the Mark 6 expands on that. It's way better. So there's a lot of distance between the Mark 5 and the Mark 6. Now the Mark 7 is the best, but it's still, it's less, right? Let me put it this way. So these are representing the potential gains that you're getting. The potential gain that you're getting from going to a Mark 5 to a Mark 6 is way larger than it is going from a 6 to a 7. That's kind of my thought process and how to explain this. So in my personal opinion, I think that the most improved is probably the Mark 6. The 7 is a fantastic transmission. It's really, really good. Borderline, it feels almost like a normal automatic, except just better because it shifts like instant. But if you're thinking about a value perspective, I think the 6 is the way to go. So that's my thought process. Now, I'm not saying that I'm gonna have an automatic transmission for the rest of my life. Hell no. It's just in my current location and life circumstance, I want to have an automatic, and a DSG is great because it's partially kind of like an enthusiast thing. So I am very, very excited and very just happy that I can have such a nice car, and it's so smooth and comfy, and I think it's going to be pretty quick in the future. So guys, that's going to do it for today's video. I hope this helped kind of explain my thought process behind buying a DSG car. I would recommend it. Again, I think that the Mark 5s aren't that great. If you're going to get a DSG, get a Mark 6 or a Mark 7 or a Mark 8 because that's actually coming soon. It'll be cool. So thank you guys so much for watching and have a good day. See ya.